So this session, we're going to do mostly collisions, and then after that, you should be ready to start your game. But first, a little bit of sprite review. So sprites are a Pagame class that makes it easier to implement A, animations, and B, updates. So that includes like collision logic. If you forgot the syntax, you can always just look it up. But basically, you can have you want to inherit from the sprite class here. Oops. You want to initialize the sprite class, and then you have your update function and your draw function, which are predefined for the sprite class. So that way, if you want to draw them from a group, you can call group dot well, the name of the group dot update and the name of the group dot draw, as well as where you want to draw it to. And here's like all the syntax you'll need. Collisions are defined as when two rectangles overlap. That's like the simple definition. Why are they? I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, obviously. But collisions would be for anything from like bullets to collecting coins to like literally just keeping your player within bounds, right? Usually you'll have like walls. You won't just be like, oh, stay in the middle of the screen. Like that's one way to do it. But let's say you want to have like a scrolling screen, right? Then you want to be detecting collisions between your player and the blocks or the walls instead of just like not allowing your player to reach like the edge of the screen. There's actually a built-in method for collisions as well. So you know how with the sprite objects we defined rectangles for them. So you go back here. It's not shown here, but it would have been like self.rect. I think this is the syntax. But anyways, you would define a rectangle and an image for each Pygame sprite, right? Everything that you inherit from Pygame's sprite class have an image and a rectangle. So that way you can call Pygame sprite.collideRect, which you pass in both sprites, and if they are overlapping, then it will return true. So here's like a simple example, which when your player falls and hits a platform, it'll set the speed to 0. But obviously, you might notice there's some issues. Like if the player is jumping upward, then they'll just get stuck to the platform at the top. Like that, if the player is coming from below and then their head gets stuck in the platform, then they'll just be stuck in the platform. So that might not be like the most robust way to implement it, but this is like your simple example, right? So here's the code. A quick question. And the question is, what happens? Oh yeah, Johan, when it's done, can you share the screen?
Yes.
Oh wait.
Yeah, it's the written response.
No. Okay, I thought we changed this before. Okay, whatever. Anyways, any answer that somewhere along the lines of what is it? Um, the enemy changes direction is basically it. So if you imagine you have like an enemy, right? Like this guy over. Let me share a screen. Oh, okay. So this enemy, let's say its speed is +5, then it'll go whoop. Oh, what? Oh, come on. I can't move this guy. Okay, fine. Let's say you have an enemy and it's like a rectangle. Yes, this is your enemy, right? So let's say it's slowly moving to the right until it hits a wall. Then its speed will change to -5. So from there, it'll keep moving, but then it'll start going back. So basically, it just keeps switching direction every time it hits a wall. Um, so I'm gonna go over a little more collision stuff, and then I have like an exercise. And if you finish it early, I would say start brainstorming for like your final game. Um, yeah. Also, as promised last time, we'll do a bit of like I'll do like a little Copilot demo just to show like, sorry, I'll basically use large language models. We'll kind of go over some do's and don'ts since they're gonna be what is it? Stuff like ChatGPT or just large language models in general are going to be like the future of coding, if you ask me. And it's the reason I say this is because I think I mentioned this last time, but they're able to like one-shot code websites. Like if you're a web designer, well, you really want to be able to use something like ChatGPT to get, or actually, I think the better model would be Gemini Flash. There's like different language models, right? Um, but basically, you would use a language model and be like, okay, here's like the main thing, and then okay, add this feature, and I would say that's a lot of what the future of I'm gonna say coding like common applications is gonna be. So if you want to build a web scraper, that's something that's been done like hundreds of times, right? And so if you want to learn how to code it, then what I would do is I would kind of ask like an AI, okay, what's like the general idea? And then you can try and like code it on your own. But if you just want to like, get it over with because maybe you have like other interests that you want to learn, or maybe you're only interested in a specific part. You're like, okay, I want to do stuff with the data, but maybe I don't really care about getting the data. Then what you want to be able to do well is you want to be able to use language model to get it, but also it's going to screw up, right? It will make mistakes because it's not perfect yet, although it's quite good. So you want to be like, okay, how can I minimize the chances of a large language model? Unfortunately, I don't have slides for this, so you'll just have to pay close attention. It's really like, okay, how can I minimize the chances of a large language model like messing up? And even if it does, how can I like redirect it so that it fixes its own mistakes, right? So that's what we'll talk about. But first, a little bit more collision stuff. And then we can get some time. Also, I've noticed that like, we don't have that many exercises being submitted. So definitely do that. if you have like also mentors, like check in with your mentees, like all of your mentees, like see why they're not submitting the exercises. I know, like, I don't think there's been much marking done, so that's on us. But yeah, like the exercises are going to be the best way to learn all the concepts taught. So I've only seen like 4 people here who have submitted the session 4 exercise, and there's at least like 10 of you. So 6 of you still need to submit your session 4. And it's like, once again, it's for yourself, you know? Like that's the best way to learn something. Like you, if you want to know whether you've learned the stuff or not, you just do the exercise. And it's like, there's no, yeah, what else do I say? It is what it is. Okay.
We can't see your screen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay, because I was ranting. But okay. We got, yeah, so this is like kind of self-explanatory. It's really just kind of like an extension. It's like, okay, what tools do we have? We know there's a for loop. So how can we use that to check for multiple platforms, right? So you can use a for loop and you can add your platforms to a group, a Sprite group. Like I said, the groups act a bit like a list, but they also have additional methods you can call on them. And last like little thing is if you want, there's a kill, what's called a kill method that you can call on any object that is a Pygame that inherits from Pygame's Sprite class. Yes, this is a question for you to ponder. What do you kill if a player hits a coin instead? And last but not least, for anyone who wants to make, let's say, if you want to make like a top-down scrolling game, by the way, mentors like as well, try and make sure like all of your mentees have like a game idea by the end of the session. So I think what we'll do is we'll go do some exercise stuff, and then after that I'll be like, here's AI and here's how it can do all of the exercises like pretty quickly. But also like, when do you want to use it versus, because I think there's definitely a concern with like, oh, if I use AI, like my brain's going to rot, right? Like, what am I going to do? So I would definitely, obviously this is partly my personal opinion, but I'll just, I'll be clear about what parts are my opinion versus what parts is just like, yeah, this is how you can maximize the use out of it. Whether or not you want to use language models, that's kind of up to yourself. But yeah, what else? So your exercise is you just want to add, you can use the code from your session 4. So now is kind of a chance to, if you didn't complete session 4, you can kind of work on that as well. And like I said, if you're stuck, make sure you ask your mentor, because we're not seeing the exercises, and that suggests to me, I'm like, are people actually like, are you understanding the content? Like, we don't know that, right? So, if you're like, oh, I don't want to do the session 4 step, it's too much, then I think there's, let's see. No, actually, it should be fine, because you have the platform code here, and basically you just create a few platforms. You create the player. Yeah, but if you're stuck, if you're like, oh, I only did up to session 2, then just tell your mentor and they can figure something out. So either you can choose to like do, whichever session step you missed to get the player that's moving, or if you don't want to, your mentor can just give you the code for it. What else? And also you have bonus 3. I mean, I should probably add this. But the other thing that you would probably want to look into is, what if the player is coming at the platform from the side or the bottom? And so if you want to check that out, there's 2 links, which are in the slides, but I'll drop here as well. They're different approaches, but they basically give you what I would call 4-directional collision. But it's really like, if the player coming from the platform from any angle will still detect a collision. And you can try implementing it on your own. it might just be a little bit tricky, but it is a good challenge. And if you decide, okay, I want to hint, then check out one of the two resources, because there's a bit of it's like, well, how do you know which direction the player is coming from? That's like kind of the big thing. Okay, and collision detection. Whoops. There. And we can do the exercise for like, how long? I think 30 minutes. Yeah, let's start with 30 minutes. And also mentors, check in with your mentees on why we only have like 4 people who submitted last week's X sessions, right? We want to see more than that. Okay. That's not the right thing. Okay. I'm just going to create a new folder, example folder, right? So first of all, you want to be working within the folder that you're actually coding in. So when you I clicked open folder, right, from VS Code, and I select this folder. So this is the one where I'll have the main file, so .py, and you also have player.png, which is currently empty. So then what you want to do is you want to go into, you know what, okay, you guys can figure it out. But basically you want to zip this example file, which has your main file, and maybe you use a folder for assets, so you have assets. Then you would have this. You want to zip, you want to zip this example file, and then you want to submit that. So that way, when you do your file pathing, you'll have access to this player PNG. Okay. Was animating a bonus objective? Oh, okay. Wait, what was the session? Yeah, what? What seconds? Wait, what was the main exercise for session 4 then? I thought the animation was it was like, well, not animating, but you still need the image. Like, even if you don't animate it, you still need the image. So, yes. What else? For everyone, yeah. What else? Cool. Session 4. Okay. So for the demo, here's what we'll do. You guys can just like spam. Okay, when I say spam, I mean like whatever. Just spam ideas in chat for like, let's say like the type of game we want to do. And then what I'm going to do is we'll code it. And then as I go and use the AI, I'll kind of point out like, okay, here's what you should do. Here's what you shouldn't do. See, this is where the AI is stupid. And the one I'm using is called GitHub Copilot, which you may have heard of, but it's basically an extension for VS Code that integrates like, it's either Claude or ChatGPT, depending on which language model you use. And the difference between like just going to ChatGPT and like copying and pasting code is that this GitHub Copilot has direct access to your file. So you can highlight stuff and you can kind of, and I'll show you as I go. There's like an autocomplete. It's kind of like, it's kind of like autocomplete on the phone, except for the fact that it uses the rest of your file as like context, and it's way better than your phone autocomplete. Right? It's just like advanced version of your programmer autocomplete, but then you can also do things like ask it to explain your code and stuff like that. First, I'm going to gather some images. Okay. I'm going to gather some images. Okay. So what sorts of game types do we want to do? If anyone has any idea, spam in the chat. You have like platformers, you have birds. I'm not doing 3D, obviously. Pygame's not good for that. What's a puzzle platformer? I've never heard of that. Okay. Mario inspired. Sure. Okay, it sounds like we're doing platformers. So here's what we'll do. I'm gonna add the image later. I will share my entire screen. Boom, 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 boom. Actually, I'll just share the VS Code, right? So over here we have also Copilot's free for students. Actually, it's free. It's free for everyone now. Basically, I do Control I. It's kind of like if ChatGPT was reading the entire file, right? Right now it's a blank file, but I can say, write me some Pygame boilerplate. Boilerplate is like template code, right? That includes. And so what you want to do is, so what's AI good at? Well, it's good at stuff that's been done like hundreds of times, and Pygame boilerplate. Like, there's a bunch of Pygame code online. I'll know like the basics, right? That includes a place for you know what? Let's do events that was keyboard input. You know what? No. Let's keep it simple. Yeah, man, you can go early. Sorry. Okay. Write me a very basic type. So the key with AI is that you want to, the simpler it is, the better, because the more you get it to do in one shot, the more likely it is to screw up. So and also you want to be specific. Now, hopefully this thing should be working. I don't know why it's taking so long, but the one I'm using is Claude 3. Ooh, they have 3.7 on it now. They have way more, but I would say the best models are usually O1 takes a long time. 3.5 Sonnet and 3.7 Sonnet are Claude. They're usually like better for coding. What is going on? I don't know when this thing used to be a lot faster. Okay, fine. Okay, write me some Pygame code that it's. Also, you guys can like put more idea. Oh, there you go. There you go. This is just ChatGPT, right? And so what I also like to do with coding with AI is, first things first, you want to understand all the code. If it ever writes code that you don't understand, then you should just highlight, like, what is this? Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory, set caption, but maybe you're like, what does this do, right? You can Control I and you can ask, or you could, this would be the equivalent of copying, explain what this code does, maybe. Okay, actually, no, that's not. Here, I'll use explain, but basically if you don't understand any of the code, you want to make sure that you know what it does. Usually if you ask AI, it'll probably tell you what it does. And even if the interesting part is, even if an AI makes a mistake, it can spot its own mistake. So if you're like, this is a weird line of code, you ask it what it does, it will tell you, and you might be like, wait, maybe we don't want that. So over here, you can kind of see that we have a loop which checks for events, fills the screen, and flips. So this is really like the basics, right? And yeah, so if this one here is if you click the X button and closes screen. And so what I like to do after every single AI edit is I will run it. And if the code crashes, then I can either undo the change and you have an empty screen. Okay, what next, guys? What do we need to do next? Spam in the chat. So what do we want to do is practice, like, what would you tell the AI, right? Or not necessarily, you don't have to think of exactly what you want to tell, but what's like the next step, right? Let's say we want to do a platformer. Come on, let's see some activity. Yeah, actually, you can unmute. Unmuting is probably better. You mentors, you can also participate if you want. Come on. I'll wait. I will wait for people to type. Next step for the platformer. Next steps for the platformer. Zoe, Sipo, Anything? Claire, Nitin, do you guys have any steps? Okay, we want to create a character. Okay. Yeah, and also everyone can put suggestions. More activity is better. Okay, let's create a character. How can we do that? Okay. Usually, whoops. I would say we want to create the character up here, right? So, write a Pygame class. No, not a Pygame class. A class for a player that moves and inherits from Pygame's right class. Oh, well, okay. So we have this, and once again, we want to check the code. You have Pygame sprite, you have initiation. This is probably parameters for position. So in this case, we didn't provide an image. So pygame.surface. If you don't know what this does, right, you would be like, what does this do? What does this do? You know, like what's pygame.surface? And you want to make sure you know all of it, so it's not like, oh, there's a bug. What's going on? Right. Oops. Also, if anyone has any questions, they should put it in the chat as well. Yes. Okay, I didn't highlight the whole thing, but basically it's saying that, the surface object is a surface in Pygame is essentially an image or a canvas where you can draw shapes, blah, blah, blah. You can read through it, but basically what it does is a surface is like anything that you can draw onto a screen. That's how I would describe it. Like I knew this from before, but if you didn't, like you would want to know, like what does it do, right? So the Pygame.image, when you load an image, that's actually a surface as well. In this case, this is just like this. I believe this would just be the position, and there's no color specified. But I would say you can. Well, actually, there is color specified, and then you get the rectangle, set the top left, and you set a speed. Now you have this update thing, and so the thing is, if you run this code, actually, it will crash because actually, well, I guess it wouldn't crash, but you still have to upload images for now. Soon, maybe we'll have agents that can upload eventually. It's also, what else? I mean, we can just run the code, but you may notice that nothing will happen. And reason, can anyone tell me the reason? Okay. Actually, I might use this one instead. This is Control-Alt-I to get the chat. You get it to edit, but anyone want to tell me why the screen is still blank? Haley? Maybe? Anyone want to answer? No. Yeah, it hasn't been drawn yet. The player's not being called everywhere. You guys can see my screen, right? So I could say use the player class. And so now what I'm doing is this over here. It has, yeah, guys, you need to interact more. I don't know. I can't even tell if you're here, put something in the chat. Say like, I'm here. I don't even know who's here. It's like everyone's AFK. People. Okay. We have we have 3 people. Okay, good. Oh no. Yeah, we need more participation, guys. Anyways. This thing over here, it's editing the entire file. So that way it knows there's a player class and it also knows there's a Pygame event loop. So that way you can actually implement the player class. Because if I only highlight this and I'm like, oh, implements like if I went and said like add this player class into the game, it would be like, what game? I can't see it. So whatever you highlight. This is specifically with Copilot. So this is kind of like if you copy and pasted your entire file into ChatGPT after every single edit, then you would be using what I do, like it's Control Alt I think if you get GitHub Copilot, but this here sees the entire file. What else? Yeah, also like if anyone's has like suggestions on where they want the game to go, like pop them in the chat. Or if you're like, oh, this is boring, like tell me what I should do differently, because I don't know. I can't do anything if I don't get feedback. Okay, so implements player class above. Oh well. Okay. This thing takes a while. Yeah, I think that I'm just gonna use ChatGPT. I think it's gonna be faster. Never mind, they both take a while. There you go. It's a little faster. Okay, so I know that we have Usman, Ivan, and so we only have 6 people who are actually here, according to the chat. Ventures, if you're here, put something or unmute. Like, ay. Okay. So now you can see here, it actually shows like you do not need to import the player, but whatever. Oh, okay. Also created a new file. Wow, how intelligent. So now you can actually go through all the changes. Okay. Yeah, Alex. Assume you also missed a couple of sessions, right? So like definitely reach out to your mentor as well. Like make sure you're so they can help you as much as they can. It's like fine if you can't like, catch all the way back up, but definitely try and ask them. Do you have who's your mentor actually? You have your Discord. That's the question. Anyway. Okay. In the meantime, I'm gonna go through, but yeah, whoever is Alex's mentor, definitely check in with them because that's supposed to be the point of the breakout rooms. And okay. So here you can see it's done a bit of organization, and you can also see basically you want to review all the changes and make sure you understand what's going on. So this is pretty typical. Okay. So how are we feeling so far? Is anyone confused? Is anyone bored? If you're bored, just say so. Tell me what I can do differently. I have. I don't know if that's like a good sign or a bad sign. Name part. Oh, okay. Name part. This over here is saying that if this is the file that is being run. So this double underscore we talked about once, I believe. Well, you can see an init, but it's kind of like a special variable. So in this case, the name indicates this suggests, okay, how do I explain? Okay, the simple version of what this does is it's saying if this is the file that's being run, so this file, whatever it's called, it could be called anything. It could be called like pygame.py or something. If that file is the one that's being run, this double underscore main means the file that's being run, then we'll call this function and we'll run it. So that way, what happens is it's actually, if you import files, it runs all the code. So whenever I import like player, if I import this player.py file, then it will run all the code here. So if I had something that says like print hello, it will actually run this code and I can demonstrate. Here, I'm gonna accept the rest of the edits, but it's over here. As we can see, we spawn the player in part of the main, and then we get all the keys that are pressed, and then we pass the keys to the player. And as you can, this is kind of bad programming practice already. It's not great, but usually if I were to pass the keys, I would only pass the keys to an update function that needs the keys. So in this case, the player. So I would probably, at this point, I would tell like Pygame to do it separately. Like, but anyways, that's a bit of a tangent. So, but I probably wouldn't use like keys as a required parameter for an update function, just because you're probably going to be updating other sprites and you're going to be like, oh, I have to put this variable in, but it doesn't actually affect them, right? Like your platforms don't need keys, just for example. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to speed along. Yeah, okay. Alex, definitely check in with your mentor. If you want, like, just DM me on Discord if you're on Discord. So, what else? Okay. I'm just going to speed along and explain less. So if anyone has questions, stop me. And, okay. What else? Oh, I have to share the entire screen, don't I? Okay. So yeah, first thing I'm going to do is, you can see that the thing moves, which is great. I'm going to make sure that this update function doesn't take the keys update remove. I'm also going to delete this because now it's duplicated. What's the best way, actually? Keys function. Create a function other than the update function to take keyboard input for the player. And the reason we're doing this is because right now you can see all sprites.update is being called, and you don't need not all sprites need access to the keys. So that's part of it. Yep. Perfect. And no, we don't. Keep. Well, I didn't look. I should probably look at what happens. Nope, you don't really want that. Self keys. Yes. So instead of player dot, we're just going to do it this way. We don't need this anymore, so we'll put this away for now. So now we've switched the handle input. Oh, it's blue now. Since when? Okay. Also switched the handle input to separate from update. So now what? What do we need? We need platforms, right? What else do we need? Guys, put something in the chat. Add some, create a platform. A basic platform. So once again, we check what's happening. We see that we've imported a platform and we are creating one platform and we're adding the platform to the all sprites group, right? So that looks fine. Now I want to check this, what's happening in here. What is going on? Okay, there's a syntax error somewhere. Bro. Oh, okay. So this is like kind of subtle, but there's actually a built-in platform class. So you don't want to call things platform.py. That's kind of subtle. I wouldn't expect you to know that, but don't name stuff platform.py because it's a built-in platform2.py, whatever, platform2.py. Right, And you want to test it again. So we assume that platform shall be drawn somewhere randomly on the screen, right? And it actually tells you, what it's doing as well. See, it says we add a new player method, we create a new platform.py file. Now you have a platform, right? But obviously there's no collision. So now what do we want to add next? We want to add jumping, we want to add collisions. Okay. We want to add jumping. Let's add gravity and jumping first. Okay. Add oh shoot, that's not. Oops. I need to give it. So I have to give it the player.py file as context. All right. I'll tell it what the main.py file does as well, but simulate gravity. And I tell it where. If you know where you want the code to be written, it's definitely way better than not. Also, I think weird. I was going to try and demonstrate that this thing runs when it's imported, but whatever. We'll do that later. I'm checking chat. Okay, I am running the code. And hang on. Okay, so I showed the code so far. And can you see it? Nathan? Can you see? Okay, perfect. So we have a platform, we have a player. We also have about 3 minutes, so yeah. There's an exercise submission form for people who haven't seen it already. Okay, let's see how quickly we can add this stuff. Oh, it's thinking now. Gravity. So what are we looking for gravity? Gravity is going to look like constantly changing the rectangle X position like every frame. So that would be in the update function, right? Oh, I typoed. Usually I'll probably catch typo, but add gravity. I'll give it less text. Oh, what? Okay, so I was just impatient. Yes, so now you have gravity, which is like kind of like the speed of the gravity. You have your velocity, and so gravity is acceleration, right? So what happens is what we would be looking for is that the velocity is constantly changed each frame. And so we'll talk about this later, but basically the idea is that as a player falls, they'll fall faster and faster, which kind of simulates. And it also decided to add some logic to prevent the player from falling to the bottom of the screen, which we'll later do with platforms. And so now if we run this again, we should see a player that's just falling. And it doesn't work. Why? Why doesn't it work? All sprites don't protect. Here. Let me save this. Oh, it's not okay because I deleted a line of code. Of course I did. So I want to have. So right now the player is added to this all sprites group, but it's not being called, right? It's not being updated. So that's part of the reason. That's the reason actually that it's not running. So that was actually on me, by the way, because the gravity is way too strong. There's no jumping. Actually, right, never mind. Because we want to add jump now, right? Okay. So we got there. It's 7:30 now, so I guess we're done.